Beyond the Gates spoilers for Tuesday, June 17th tease that the night sky over Hawthorne Cemetery holds secrets darker than mere superstition. As the amber streetlights flicker through the wrought iron gates, Vanessa Hale stands at the threshold of her own doubts, torn between loyalty and self-preservation. She has always been Doug's anchor, his steady hand in moments when reality frays, but tonight, she must confront which sacrifices she is truly prepared to make. Memories of their first meeting, a chance encounter in the dusty stacks of the old archive room, flash through her mind. The warmth of his laugh, the gentle way he tucked a stray lock of hair behind her ear, the unspoken promise of partnership against any storm. Yet storms are not always limited to rain. Sometimes they are born inside the fragile human heart. Doug's obsession with the Gates board's mythic powers has grown contagious, dragging Vanessa deeper into a world where every roll of the dice might awaken vengeful spirits or seal one's fate permanently. She recalls the night she found him poring over forbidden manuscripts, veins pulsing at his temples, eyes burning with a fever she couldn't extinguish. In that tense moment, she realized that to save him, she might have to surrender part of herself and perhaps the very integrity she prizes above all else. Meanwhile, Martin Reynolds staggers through the dimly lit corridors of the Hawthorne Asylum with Smitty Townsend by his side. Smitty's voice is a steady anchor cutting through the fog of Martin's fractured reality. Every time Martin glances into a cracked mirror, he sees not himself, but the hollow specter of the deceased Dr. Whitaker, accusing him of transgressions never committed. Smitty, whose own struggles have taught him empathy beyond professional duty, urges Martin to seek treatment for the hallucinations that gnaw at his sanity. He offers research articles, anecdotes of patients who reclaimed their lives through unconventional therapy, and the promise of companionship on late-night runs to obscure clinics. Yet Martin recoils at the idea of exposing his mind to cold scanners and sterile operating rooms. The asylum's walls have already become his sanctuary, warped though they are. In whispers, Smitty describes the experimental neurofeedback techniques that could recalibrate Martin's errant neural pathways, but each proposition crashes against Martin's fear that admitting illness equals admitting weakness. The flame of hope flickers in Martin's eyes when Smitty mentions Dr. Rajan, a psychiatrist renowned for breaking through cases labeled hopeless. Still, the longer Martin resists, the deeper the hallucinations root themselves in his psyche, bringing with them creeping dread that one day he'll see, not just ghosts, but real harm wrought by his unguarded hands. Back in Vanessa's cramped apartment above Hawthorne Street, the air hangs thick with unspoken tension. Doug kneels by the fireplace, carefully arranging the colored tokens on the weathered board, murmuring incantations he no longer comprehends. Vanessa watches from the doorway, heart pounding as she recognizes the danger she helped sow. Their relationship, once built on mutual respect, has frayed into a fragile web of deceit. He hides his most reckless impulses. She conceals her growing fear. When Doug lifts his head, silver candlelight dancing in his eyes, Vanessa crouches beside him, voice trembling as she questions the price they will pay. She imagines a future in which Doug's obsession leads to irreparable ruin, a burned house, shattered bones, severed trust. Yet she knows the truth. She has secrets of her own, whispered promises that she dared not keep, moments when she allowed the board's whispers to guide her actions. The conflict churns within her. If she denounces Doug's pursuit, she risks abandoning him to the very malevolent forces they sought to control together. And if she stays silent, she becomes complicit in a game that could consume them both. Across town, Danny Carter and Andre Morales sit in the back booth of Joe's Diner, the fluorescent lights humming above them like a pulsating portal. They have faced ordeal and heartbreak in equal measure, but nothing prepared them for the confession they now carry between them. Danny's voice cracks as she reveals the discovery that Andre is not only Doug's estranged nephew, but also the unwitting keeper of a family curse bound to the Gates board. Andre stares at his trembling reflection in the booth's beveled glass, the weight of generations pressing down on his shoulders. He admits that his mother, Doug's sister, had implored him as a child to protect the board from prying hands, an oath he swore with youthful solemnity. Danny's revelation ripples through their relationship like a shockwave, leaving them teetering on the brink of fear and awe. Their shared historia whirlwind romance forged in heated debates over the board's origins suddenly feels incomplete, overshadowed by hidden lineage and ancestral sins. As Andre recounts the whispered warnings passed down by his mother, Danny's own past emerges in sharp relief, the guilt she harbored for selling a token to a stranger, only to hear later of its catastrophic consequences. Together, they realize that the board's power is more personal than either dared imagine, a legacy that binds them to Doug's fate in ways they are only beginning to grasp. In the gloom of the abandoned chapel on Maple Avenue, Vanessa seeks answers among crumbling pews and peeling frescoes. Shadows dance along the walls, cast by her lantern's trembling glow. She discovers a faded journal tucked beneath the altar, its pages detailing Doug's great-grandfather's descent into madness after a single, fateful game. The elder Hale described a moment when the board spoke clearly to him, promising reunion with his lost love in exchange for a sacrifice unimaginable. Vanessa reads the words aloud, her voice echoing off vaulted ceilings. The price is blood, but not always mine. She shudders at the implication, realizing that Doug's fixation springs from a lineage of desperation. The revelation forces her to reevaluate her own sacrifices, the time she abandoned her career as a forensic archivist, the friends she lost to prioritize Doug's compulsions, the lie she told her sister about the board's disappearance. As the chapel's wind-whipped windows groan, Vanessa senses that Doug's choices are not born solely of obsession, but of inherited tragedy. She collects the journal, vows to decode its cryptic instructions, and steels herself to confront Doug with truths he may never wish to face. Meanwhile, Smitty drives Martin to a discreet mental health clinic housed in a renovated Victorian mansion outside the city limits. The ride is silent save for the hum of tires on asphalt and Martin's ragged breaths. Smitty tries to lighten the mood with anecdotes of his own therapy, how he once freaked out a roomful of therapists by scribbling the asylum's architecture on the walls. Martin manages a weak smile but remains apprehensive. When they arrive, the clinic's welcoming facade contrasts sharply with the cold, disciplined mind work that awaits inside. Smitty hands Martin the journal he'd found in Dr. Rajan's files, praising Martin's courage in finally accepting help. But as Martin steps through the clinic's heavy oak door, he glances back and sees, in the rearview mirror, a phantom figure flickering in the passenger seat, the late Dr. Whitaker, beckoning him to turn the car around and never return. Martin's heart pounds as he steps into the lobby, wondering whether to trust the science that could save him or retreat into the asylum's familiar horrors. In a cramped office lit by a single desk lamp, Danny and Andre pore over antique maps and family records, tracing the board's journey through time and geography. Each revelation feels like a fresh wound as they learn of clandestine auctions, whispered exchanges in smoky parlors, and the trail of broken lives left in the board's wake. Danny's fingertips tremble as she traces the inked signature of Doug's ancestor beside notes that hint at a hidden chamber beneath Hawthorne Cemetery's catacombs. Andre's jaw clenches when he realizes the chamber aligns with the chapel where Vanessa discovered the cursed journal. Their confessions have bound them to a destiny they never sought, and the realization spurs them into action. They must warn Vanessa and Doug before the board's next invocation. But as they prepare to depart, the diner's door swings open and Bill O'Connor storms in, eyes ablaze with rage. He collapses into the booth opposite them, slamming his fist onto the Formica tabletop. Sputtering accusations about stolen artifacts and betrayals that cut deeper than any blade, Bill's words tumble out in a torrent of anger. When Danny tries to calm him, he shoves her aside, cocks a revolver he had concealed in his coat, and fires a single shot into the wooden paneling above the booth. The echo reverberates through the diner like a thunderclap, shattering glass and hope in equal measure. Danny and Andre dive under the booth as patrons scream and scatter. Bill stands, shaking, staring at the smoking barrel as if surprised by his own action. In that suspended moment, the board's malevolent influence feels tangible, as though it has seized Bill's heart and twisted it with jealousy and fear. Danny locks eyes with Andre, both understanding that Bill's wrath is not a random outbreak of violence, but an omen of the darkness brewing around the board. They realize the game has shifted. More lives will be at risk unless they act quickly. Andre glances at Danny's pale face and nods without speaking. They know they must reach Vanessa before Bill's fury consumes them all. Outside, Vanessa pores over the journal's final entry by moonlight, unaware of the gunshot that shattered Bill's composure. The wind rustles the pages as she reads of a ritual demanding the shedding of innocent blood to seal one's deepest desire. Her breath catches. She wonders whose blood will be required. Doug's voice drifts from the chapel's doorway, soft, pleading, insistent. She tucks the journal into her coat and steps toward him, each footfall heavy with dread. The board, lying between them on a stone altar, seems to glow with anticipation. Vanessa's heart hammers as she lifts one of the carved tokens, feeling the rough wood bite into her palm. She must decide whether to join Doug at the altar of ghosts or walk away and leave him to face the board's wrath alone. The decision will define them both. Martin, alone in the dim corridor of the clinic, presses a trembling hand against the wall, steadying himself. Somewhere ahead, a door opens to a treatment room where Dr. Rajan awaits. Martin's hallucinations lurk just beyond consciousness whispers, shifting shapes, the stench of decay. Yet he knows that surrendering to help could save his mind from fracturing beyond repair. He takes a deep breath, steps forward, and crosses the threshold. Inside, the lights are calm, the air antiseptic. A nurse smiles and offers him a blanket. Martin's fear collides with a fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, he can reclaim the life the vision stole from him. Danny and Andre race across town, clutching their newly unearthed maps and a hastily typed warning letter for Vanessa. Sirens wail in the distance, a reminder that time is slipping through their fingers. They dart through back alleys, hearts pounding, fervently wishing they could outrun the board's curse itself. As they near Vanessa's apartment, they pause at the corner, catching sight of Doug standing in the doorway like a wraith, board tokens in hand. Their urgency twists into dread. What have they walked into? Inside the apartment, Vanessa hesitates, token poised above the board, as Doug's voice murmurs, "This is our only chance." She closes her eyes, recalling Smitty's words about choice and sacrifice. The board watches silently, hungry. In that charged silence, every heartbeat echoes the question, what is the cost of desire, and who will pay the ultimate price? The answer hangs in the air, concealed within the board's next movie, a move that will change everything. The moon has slipped westward by the time Danny and Andre slip through the wrought iron gate of Vanessa's courtyard, the two of them panting in the damp night air. Their frantic footsteps echo against the brick walls as Andre clutches the yellowed letter, Vanessa's name scrawled across the top in tight, deliberate script, while Danny keeps her eyes fixed on the apartment window, where a single pane glows with candlelight. Each flicker of that flame sets her nerves alight, reminding her that every stolen second brings Doug one step closer to unleashing the board's malevolence. Andre presses a finger to his lips. Danny stifles a choked whisper as they press themselves against the moss-covered bricks. "He's inside," Andre murmurs, voice rough. And he glances at the token clutched in his free hand, carved with that same ominous spiral they've seen before. What is he doing? Through the window, shadows twist across the floor, cast by Doug's lithe form kneeling before the board. Vanessa stands opposite him, token poised as though offering her very soul to the game. In that tableau, their silhouettes are both intimate and monstrous, two lovers bound by an obsession older than either fully comprehends. Danny's breath hitches. We have to warn her. Andre nods, but as they cross the courtyard, Danny's heart pounds not just with urgency, but with dread. They're about to step into a ritual that could demand the ultimate price. Inside, Vanessa's knuckles whiten as she grips the token. Doug's gaze is a fierce weight upon her, the candlelight flickering golden flecks in his dark eyes. For a heartbeat, Vanessa allows herself to wonder what promises lie behind that gaze, what whispered visions of reunion, redemption, or revenge the board's ancestors might be weaving. But then her eyes drift to the journal page she slipped into her coat, the final entry's admonition: to bind a heart unbroken, blood must flow from blood itself. Her pulse slows as the realization crystallizes. The board isn't asking her to sacrifice strangers, it demands kinship's price. Doug leans forward, voice low and fervent. I can bring her back, Vanessa. I can undo it all, the accident, the betrayal, if we do this now. Vanessa's throat tightens. She sees in Doug's face the ghost of the man she fell in love with, but also the stranger he's become, fevered, mercurial, enthralled by forces he no longer controls. She steps backward. Before she can speak, the apartment door crashes open. Danny and Andre burst in, Andre brandishing the letter like a shield. Stop. Danny's voice cuts through the hush. Don't do this. Vanessa, read it. Vanessa's world pivots. The token slips from her fingers, clattering against the altar stone. Doug whirls, eyes blazing with accusation. Stay out of this, he hisses, advancing. You don't understand. Danny intercepts him, stepping between the two. She unfolds the letter with trembling hands, holding it up for Vanessa and for Dad to see. The inked words speak of betrayals past and a warning. The board's power is a serpent coiled in our blood. Break its cycle or be broken with it. Andre crosses to Vanessa, pressing the journal into her hands. He's wrong. It isn't about loss, it's about lineage. The board feeds on our devotion. If you feed it blood, it will grow stronger, strong enough to consume this entire city. For a moment, time suspends. Doug's chest heaves, candles gutter in sympathy, and Vanessa's gaze flickers from the journal to each face in the room. Then chaos. Bill O'Connor bursts through the bathroom door, gun still warm in his hand. His bloodshot eyes sweep the gathering as if measuring betrayal in their expressions. Too late, he snarls, finger tightening on the trigger. Flames of rage dance across his features, fueled by a jealous fury he barely comprehends himself. Before anyone can move, Bill fires. The report cracks against the walls and with splinters as the bullet lodges in the leg of the altar, sending shards flying. Vanessa screams, diving forward to shield the boar and Doug from the blast. Danny pushes Andre behind the couch. Doug staggers, clutching his arm, but keeping his eyes on Bill. You don't know what you're doing, Doug shouts over the ringing silence. Bill's face contorts with regret and rage both. I know exactly what I'm doing, he spits. I'm ending this. He raises the gun again, but Smitty Townsend crashes through the front door, his bulk filling the threshold. Behind him, Martin Reynolds stumbles in support, both men looking more fragile than they did under asylum fluorescence, but no less determined. Lower it, Bill. Smitty roars, muscles coiled like springs. Bill hesitates, face twisting. Danny seizes the moment. She lunges forward, flinging herself at Bill's arm. The gun clatters to the floor. Andre dives to snatch it away. Vanessa presses herself against the board's surface, heart hammering. She lifts her head, finds Doug's hand and grips it. It ends, she whispers, voice trembling but resolute. In the charged hush, she sees that Doug's eyes have cleared, as if the bullet's nearness and the collective terror have yanked him back from the brink. The candles flicker, then steady. From the board, the tokens lie scatter, wooden witnesses to every whispered invocation. Vanessa kneels by the board, places her free hand atop it. "No more sacrifices," she declares, voice firm. "No more blood. We end this." At her words, a low rumble shakes the apartment, a sound like the world's breath catching, as though the board itself protests. A faint crack runs along the stone altar's surface like ice fracturing under pressure. Smitty moves to Andre's side, while Martin grips the edge of the altar, knuckles white. "You okay?" Smitty asks Martin, voice softer now. Martin nods, eyes distant but steady. Outside, sirens wail echoes of the violence that just transpired. But inside, something more profound unfolds. The pact Vanessa and Doug share, once sealed by blood and fear, now rewritten by an act of collective defiance. Doug kneels beside Vanessa, lays his head against her shoulder. "I'm sorry," he breathes. "I went too far." Tears slip down Vanessa's cheeks as she strokes his hair. In the candlelight, shadows retreat from the corners, a subtle thawing of the oppressive atmosphere that has dogged them all. Danny steps to the board, collects the scattered tokens. Each one feels heavier now, weighted by the knowledge of what could have been sacrificed. She places them in the journal's back pocket. "No more games," she murmurs. Andre moves to Danny's side, wraps an arm around her shoulders. "We burn it," he says. "Destroy every trace." Together, they lift the board and as they carry it toward the cracked fireplace, Vanessa and Doug rise behind them, Martin and Smitty filling the ranks. In the fireplace, the ashes of forgotten files smolder. Danny waits until the board's wood glows, then ignites with a hungry flare, sending sparks dancing across the ceiling. Women and men, bound by trauma, by hope, by a shared brush with forces they barely fathomed, watch as the board succumbs to flame. The smoke curls upward, twisting into shapes that might be faces angry, pleading, faded. For a moment, the air vibrates with a sorrowful hum, as though the very ancestors the board once promised to resurrect cry out in final protest. Then the blaze calms, the last sliver of carved wood collapses into embers, and silence falls. Outside, the sirens fade. Inside, the group stands in the muted glow of the hearth, bodies pressed close against the lingering chill. Vanessa steps toward Martin. "You did it," she says, voice soft. Martin's jaw works. He nods, relief and fear twined in his expression. "I let them help me," he whispers. For the first time. Smitty claps Martin on the back, grin spreading. "Welcome back," he says, louder than customary. Danny reaches for Andre's hand. They exchange a glance rich with unspoken promises. "We started as hunters of the board's secrets," Danny says. "Now we're survivors." Andre nods. "And next time, we won't wait for the next curse to surface." In the hush, they all sense it, a new beginning, fragile and bright. Outside the window, dawn's first light brushes the horizon pink. The city awakens, ignorant of the terror averted or perhaps grateful in ways it cannot name. Vanessa closes her eyes, inhales. She feels the weight of countless choices behind her, but also the promise of uncharted days ahead. Doug draws her closer. She leans into him, feeling the solidity of his arms, the reality of his touch. They step toward the door-ored life outside the confines of fear. Behind them, the hearth's embers glow like last vestiges of a nightmare, soon to fade. Together, they step forward, ready to write the next chapter themselves.